time for another round of Brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand. With your hosts, Reilly Newman and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
Hello, and welcome back to another round of Brandy.
We're going to be talking about something that's really near and dear to my heart. I grew up with them. A great brand, but a brand that's making a misstep right now. We're talking about Legos.
I mean, it's like Legos have to be one of the most classic of the toys. Like it's up there with Barbie, but Lego to me is, I think from a design standpoint, it's so simple and so ingenious, and it just like opens up worlds of possibilities. And
yeah.
I think, you've seen everything from the guys building massive structures that are either caricatures or whatever out of Lego, and they're gluing them and doing it, and it's like a whole practice, to even just, kids playing them and leaving them out.
It's not a kid's toy anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
It far exceeded that. And digging around just a little bit of the history, I thought we came across some interesting things. So it started in 1932 by this guy that basically started making wooden block toys. The word Lego, though, this is interesting, is that it came from, it's basically a Danish phrase, legot, that, and I may be pronouncing that wrong, butchering it, but that means play well. But the interesting thing is that in Latin, the term Lego also means to put together.
That's interesting.
And so in the 30s, they introduced things, and then it was really in the early 50s that the actual Lego brick, the way that we've come to know, was introduced to the market. Was in the 50s, 1950s. It kind of matured, and they went to different things. They introduced the first, in the 60s, they introduced that, and I remember these too, that they were like a wheel block. It would be like a brick that would had attached to it a wheel with a red hub, and then these thin little rubber tires, so you could actually make a car, something that could actually roll on the ground, right?
Yeah, I remember chewing on those, on the rubber. You get as a kid, not now.
I remember taking the rubber ring off the wheel and putting it on, like it was like a ring or something,
cutting off the blood.
They started introducing like architecture and fun sets, and it was more. It wasn't so much for like hyper interactive play, but and then in the 70s they went two different directions. That the brand went to making hitting a younger audience with the Duplo blocks, and these were twice the size of normal bricks, much more simpler to build, and it was for younger kids to first kind of get that idea of putting things together. And then they also introduced the Technic system, which I remember big when I was like in like late grade school and junior high stuff. That the sets would come out with. That's where they had the gears and these rods and pinions, and you could make like make a car where you could turn the steering wheel and the wheels would turn. And so it started introducing engineering concepts, and they kind of upped their game. And then, of course, the Lego minifigure was introduced in 1978. The reason for that was they wanted to introduce role playing into their playtime. You're playing out story, and you're crafting your own stories with this toy,
right?
Which kind of leads us up to the point of why we're talking about Lego today. And they introduced something new. They announced, I think this was at the CES.
The CES this year.
Yeah.
I think it was in Las Vegas.
And you go on their website, and these are on pre-order right now, this launch of this Smart Play.
It's fascinating because you do look at the arc of Lego. And again, before Lego, you had Lincoln Logs, which is like 1916 when those rolled out. And that's all architectural. You're building.
Log cabins.
Yeah, you're just building things log cabins. And you're building things, right? And so Lego naturally had that in its DNA of, okay, how do you build? Just building things, and start with bricks, because it's like what's different than logs is brick walls. And so you start with bricks and you build from there. And then it seems like what Scott said, in the 70s when they introduced kind of role playing and more of that play being pushed into it, which to me that's more like the art of it.
Yeah.
The technology is one aspect, the bricks, and then the art is what then challenges that technology and pushes it further, which John Lasseter from Pixar, he always said, the technology pushes the art, and the art challenges the technology. So you have this constant back and forth that pushes these things further and further, and it benefits not only the creators and those using it, but also the ones consuming the end product. And at CES this year, Lego introduced the Smart Brick, or whatever they're calling it.
And smart play. It's a smart brick. They call it a smart brick, but it's it's called the Smart Play system.
And you'll probably see it where it has lights, it has chips in it, but it does still look like a Lego brick with a transparent top. And essentially you can put this thing on like, let's say a car, on a helicopter, and it will adjust its sound effects and the lights it's making to fit whatever you're using it for. And this also works in tandem with those other vehicles or other things that you're putting on, having a chip that's telling it what it is. So with the technology now being integrated into these bricks, what I find the problem is that you are programming, right? Just like the sound effects are programmed. Okay, this is making a
bad laser blast.
A bad laser blast. So,
a bad TIE fighter
this
sound.
must be programmed and predestined to this certain piece or to this vehicle or whatever it is, right? Just like if you had a helicopter, okay, that's predestined to a helicopter chassis that you're going to build into.
Yeah, because I think that's what it's like. You have like a framework, and then it's like the chip will work with a helicopter. If it matches with the helicopter, it knows that, so it's going to make a helicopter sound.
Yeah, and that's what, like, to me, it's almost like that's what Lego wasn't. Is that Lego's? We say like the word almost like antithesis to technology. What we think of technology today, of like coding and programming and stuff, is that programming is programming, right? It's like programming is predestined thinking, where you're going, okay, this equals this equals this. You know, it's if this then that. So if this chip is near this brick, then make this noise. You're predestining that. That's programming.
Yeah.
And Lego is almost the opposite of that, where you can be playing
Antithesis of predestination. It's like, yes, you can follow the manual and build that exact object
As you
that's
want,
on the outside of the box, but you can also take that and make whatever your mind
can also
dream up with
smash
those
it.
same pieces. You can go hog wild and build anything too that you dream of and envision within reason, because it's your imagination.
The point of Lego is to have constraints, is that you don't actually have these possibilities to do these things, because Lego is so minimal that there are constraints where then you have to then add the sound effects, add the voices, add whatever the personalities to the different characters, to the automobiles or whatever it is. It's like, it's up to you to create that, because you do have the constraints of not having much to work with, and you're having to create things and create buildings and do all that. And that's kind of part of the fun. And what made it so enchanting as a toy, I feel like that's what really gave its
charm.
Its charm. And that's what is so cool about even the sets. It's like, we didn't really do sets growing up. We would always just build random things. And that's what's so cool about seeing the sets too, is that you have everything from Harry Potter to Marvel to the Empire State Building, and they're all using these
Willy
bricks.
Wonka.
Yeah, Willy Wonka.
They
everything.
Lord of the Rings. Like they've done so well at partnering with big, getting licensing rights and stuff. But because I think it sells both those enterprises. The Lego fans buy it up, and then the fans of Batman or whatever buying up a Lego Batman set. You know?
And that's what really saved the Lego business too, is that they were almost. They were suffering really bad. And then once they unlocked the whole licensing side of it, that's where then the business actually started being really healthy. And it kind of reminds me of even like when Scott and I briefly talked about it, I was like, it almost reminds me of what's happened to cars and like automobiles as a whole, is that you just have these bells and whistles that keep being added, and it's just more things that can break, honestly. It's like, okay, now every car has this giant touch screen in the middle, and you can do whatever you want. You can do the air control, you can do all these, and then that's making it more complicated, because then you have to tap and get into these different things, instead of having what was a very functional thing, is having a knob that you turn left or right to blue or red to control the temperature. But now it's like, oh, you need to tap here and tap that. You can do this and
I'll
that.
tell you, I don't know how many times I've gone to turn up the music, and it's turning up the heat on the thermostat, because in our car, it's got like this section where you either select the media or you select the interior environment. And like we'll swip back and forth, and sometimes without me knowing, and so I'll just grab the knob thinking that's the on. Nope.
So I think it's the point of this episode is going, okay, are we seeing this little moment of lack of brand clarity because the technology is exciting, it's cool, it's fun, and someone got paid to obviously research this and do it? And is this just kind of a feather in the cap for someone's career, or maybe Lego on the technology side? Or is this just a kind of misguided misstep of the brand going, no, let's go back to our roots, because
let's stay relevant with technology, right?
Well, and that's what they
bring in AI or whatever. I mean, who knows?
They did have they've done the architectural thing. They do it where now you can build like Lamborghinis, you can build the Empire State Building, and it's like puzzles where they increase the amount of pieces and technical side of it. And even like I did look up those 2001, the Bionicles came out, and I remember those because Lego had those where you could,
it was Lego Bionicles.
yeah, and so you could rotate the things on their backs, and I remember you'd have to connect the rubber bands, and then the arms would move. So there was more,
you could create some movement,
higher level, yeah, where you're engineering.
Nothing more than the Robotechs in the late 80s, where you could turn the steering wheel and you built it so that
And
you
it would
could
respond.
the tires of the car could steer. So as you're pushing your car, you could, with one hand, you could steer it. It was just kind of fun, more added, engagement of level of play.
Yeah. And again, I think the irony of all this is that everything on the technology side is almost going the opposite direction, where technology is striving to be able to be more customized. So even you think of your phone, you think of your computer, you're able to customize the different sound effects, the different pings and dings and whatever you have to what you prefer and how you want it to respond and be in your life. Now Lego's making it going, oh no, when you fly the helicopter, it makes this sound. And just like they did have it where on the CES presentation, there's a character, one of the little Lego guys, they put in the helicopter and it goes on its side and the guy goes like, whoa.
He goes, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, like he doesn't want to be going upside down.
But what if he does? And then,
Right.
Or,
And what if you
or
want
what
to
if he
fly
makes
the
a
plane
different
upside
sound?
down with the guy in it, and he's constantly acting and responding as if he is, like uneasy about it. And
Scared?
maybe you want him to be, laughing or doing whatever. I feel like for Lego, of all brands, it needs to lean more and more into independent play.
It is interesting because it reminds me even the Lego pieces when my girls, like, they've gotten all the Wicked Lego sets or whatever. And the ones that you put stickers on. And even when I was young, like, I hated that because I hated putting the sticker on, especially when it was like something from a set or something, because you're forever marking that piece as it's from whatever, this movie or Jurassic Park or something. And to me, it was always like, no, I'm not doing that because this piece can never be anything else. And that's like, again, that's almost the opposite of Lego, is that, no, the red brick can be a building, it can be part of the car, it can be part of a spaceship, it can be whatever. And so I don't know what the conclusion is going to be.
If I guess, if this is what consumers want, but if this is what, I just feel like for Lego and what it has always been as a brand. And so I think bottom line, like, what's the takeaway? What's the point? It's like when you have a brand, know what you do best, know what's really built your brand. And like, even in this type of move, what is constantly driving their desire to take a new piece of tech, a new gizmo, and add it into the mix to stay relevant? Maybe, but at what cost?
And I think what my pet peeve about it is that I feel like there's this weird fallacy where we think technology, which I guess historically it's true, is that technology is convenience in the form of microwaves, in the form of phones, in the form of all kinds of things, is that there's convenience that's kind of inherent to technology. But I think a lot of places think that, oh, if we sell technology, the consumer's wanting the convenience that comes with that. And that's what's, to me, even like with AI right now, the foolish brands and the foolish users are using AI in the form of this convenience, which is essentially just like human, like, laziness and gluttony. It's like, oh no, I don't want to do that, so have it do this, right? And it's like, that's like the lowest form of technology. It's like a microwave. It's the lowest form of technology where you're probably destroying the food in the microwave. It's probably not the best thing for you. You're changing molecular structure. It's just not, it's not good for anyone. And this is kind of like that, where it's a little bit of this convenient I don't feel like making sound effects. I don't feel like using my imagination, so I want the brick to do it for me.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, again, I understand the need to go that route.
Again, when it comes to brand, and especially with technology, I just feel like that brands have to be careful of not. It's very thin ice, and I guess more of a slippery slope of, oh, we're using technology to do this or do that, and it's very just bells and whistles, where it's like, well, everyone's doing this, so we need to integrate AI, in which I guarantee that's where Lego's wanting to go. Is like, okay, how do we now have it where the Lego can interact
build
with
itself?
The kid? Yeah, build itself.
Yeah, we've got an
pour it
app,
out on the table,
and now all the bricks are animated and they're all robotic. And now you click on the app, and the Lego object builds itself.
And again, going back to the principle of Lego, what's the best part of Lego? Is that it's the satisfaction you get from building it. Just like doing a puzzle or doing anything that's challenging. It's like the satisfaction of, oh my gosh, I got this new set for my birthday or for Christmas, and it has all these pieces, right? And they give you, they organize it for you a little, and they give you a manual and all that, but it's still the IKEA effect that IKEA does well with its furniture, where you build it and you take that ownership of it. Looking at it afterwards is like, okay, that's nice. You put it on your shelf or you destroy it or whatever. But the whole purpose is that you're building this thing and you're putting that effort and the constraints of going, okay, how do I make this work? That's the magic.
Yeah. This goes against the very core, the very nature, the very name of the brand.
Yeah.
So on that note,
thanks for listening.
Yeah.
If you have a question you'd like for us to answer regarding marketing or brand, there is a link in the episode description where you can submit it, and we don't take information or anything like that. We just answer your question, and we'll do it on the next episode.
Yep.
So until next time,
Cheers.